My humble obeisance.
I'd like to thank you on behalf of the Mayapur Institute for coming and sharing with the devotees about this evening.
Well, thank you for giving me some service.
Was the experience nice? This is the first time I believe you taught this section.
Yes. Very interesting section. I'm very fortunate to have the opportunity. Such confidential pastimes.
Was there enough time to cover the section?
Yeah, I think the time was enough, yeah. Good.
Good, so you can teach in the future batches.
Yeah. I gained a lot from hearing Narayani and Barijan Prabhu's lectures.
It's a very good resource. I feel very safe when I listen to their classes for this. Okay, Maharaj, thank you very much. And thank you all the devotees for your enthusiasm to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And we leave you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Jnana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanhebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So welcome back to all the students. This is our 5th class and my final class in this section. So today we're finishing chapter number 33 of the 10th Canto. So we'll be looking at the last section from text 28 up to 39. Okay, so maybe you remember something from yesterday. Anyone like to tell us what they remember about the rasa dance? Someone?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept humble obeisances. I think as part of text 16 yesterday, we discussed that the Lord is completely entitled to, do this Leela with his gopis. The context being that the analogy was that just like a boy plays with his own shadow, all the gopis are the energies of the Lord, and thus it becomes obvious that he can enjoy with them in any form. I thought that was a very strong analogy. Thank you.
Yes, right. Yeah. Someone may say, what kind of God is this you're worshipping? That he dances, goes in the woods and dances with these the wives of other men? And so we have to explain to them what is the actual situation. That these ladies who are dancing with Lord Krishna in the last Rasa Leela are Lord Krishna's own internal potency. So they're not ordinary ladies of the material world. They're actually all very great souls who have come specially to take part in the pastimes of Lord Krishna. And so Rasa Leela is so often misunderstood. We will be discussing more about this today. All right, thank you, Prabhu. Is there anything else you remember from yesterday, Prabhus? Anyone?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
we also saw that just because the gopis were so attached to the Lord was reciprocating with them. And so he took advantage of the best time of the year, the autumn night, to be with them, and the full moon night. And they had this wonderful celebration. And then after that, we also saw that how Maharaj Parikshit, in order to clarify to the some of the people who were described as the yogis, jnanis, and the non-devotees, who seemed to have some doubt regarding the activities of the Lord. So he wanted to seek clarification from Shukadev Goswami. So we saw how he asked this question, and we also saw in that purport that it's better to openly ask these questions, and for a sincere seeker, a sincere student, it is good to ask relevant questions. In that way, the student and all the other listeners also benefit from the discourse or the lecture. So we see that.
Yes, thank you, Mataji. Yes, we will be continuing our discussion on this question, the two questions put by Maharaj Parikshit, and how Sukadev Goswami responds to them. Certainly very important, very relevant questions for us to understand. Anything else?
Yes,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Maharaj.
Maharaj. So,
Yesterday
we were trying to.
we also discussed about like how the kirtan which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did with the confidential associates in Shiva Sangan, and like it's non-different from the Rasa Leela pastime. So that is also I was trying to recollect, which we discussed yesterday.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Parallel pastimes, Chaitanya Lila and Krishna Lila. Lord Chaitanya's nocturnal kirtans in the home of Srivas are parallel with the Rasa Lila. Any other thing?
Hare Krishna
Yes,
Maharaj. Yes, Mataji, please.
Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Maharaj, you also told us that we discussed that the age of Lord Shri Krishna during these pastimes was hardly 8 years. So, like, these pastimes were not supposed to be lusty as the other people assume these to be. They were all on the transcendental platform, and even the gopis were doing the Ras Leela with their spiritual bodies. They were not material bodies. And you also told us that these were not done by anybody. They were all organized by the Yoga Maya potency of the Ras Leela of the potency of the Lord. So,
Okay.
and they went on for one night of Brahma, all these pastimes.
Yes, one night of Brahma was condensed into our 8 nights, 8 hours of
Yes. And the
our own.
gopis sang, yes, sorry. And the gopis sang with so many ragas, 10,000 ragas, you told us that they sang. And so many ragas were produced as there are species, but they sang with so many ragas, and Lord Krishna gave his yellow garment to Vishakha Sakhi, and gave his ornaments, ring, you told, to Lalita Sakhi. When he was so happy, such a lot of reciprocation was going on. Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Lord Krishna was recognizing the very nice, sweet singing of the Sakis. First of all, Vishaka sang, and then Lalita, and then we heard also later on Srimati Radharani is also coming. She can also sing in a very wonderful manner. So this is the characteristics of the devotees of Lord Krishna, that they have these wonderful qualities. they're singing, they're playing of instruments, they're dancing. Everything is very, very pleasing to Lord Krishna. That is the real goal, to give pleasure to Krishna. And Lord Krishna showed his pleasure by reciprocating, by giving rewards, giving some cloth, giving ornaments and rings, and even his slippers, recognizing the achievements of the devotees. So very wonderful. All right. And then we come to Maharaj Parikshit's questions, right? Maharaj Parikshit had been hearing faithfully from Sukadeva Goswami. And so then he had his question. Two questions were there actually, right? Let's see here, text 29. Oh no, that's the answer. First of all, Maharaj Parikshit's question. That's in, first of all, comes in 26 and 27. Right? That Maharaj Parikshit said, I'll just read the verse again. O Brahmana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord of the universe, has descended to this earth along with his plenary portion to destroy irreligion and re-establish religious principles. Indeed, he is the original speaker, follower, and guardian of moral laws. How then could he have violated them by touching other men's wives? So, very powerful question put by Maharaj Parikshit, that Lord Krishna has come to re-establish religion. Dharma samstarpanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge, right? Parijanaya sadhunam vinaschaya chaduskritam dharma samstarpanartaya. So we know these verses, the Lord Krishna's mission in coming to the world. He is the original speaker, and he has come to teach us the importance of religious principles. How could he violate them? By touching other men's wives. That's the first question. And we're told that these questions were asked by Maharaj Parikshit, not because Maharaj Parikshit has some doubts, but because he's aware about other people who are there, who are listening, who were not devotees. All right, so Maharaj Parikshit put this question on their behalf, not so much on his own behalf. So we have to be thinking like that when we put questions. We don't just, it's not just a question about our own doubt, but we want the speaker to make everything very clear. And here in this particular case, Maharaj Parikshit, as a very good student, he'd been, he was really absorbed, and he's fasting, and he's waiting for his death. So he put this very important question. He wants to understand, why did Lord Krishna do this? And then the second question, text 28. O faithful upholder of vows, please destroy our doubt by explaining to us what purpose the self-satisfied Lord of the Yadus had in mind when he behaved so contemptibly. So what was his purpose in doing it? Right? How could he do it, first of all? Why did he do it? And what was his purpose, and what some purpose in mind? So Maharaj Parikshit wants to get these answers for the benefit of all posterity. We've been here, great sages and great minds. We've been hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, and we hear about Maharaj Parikshit, and we want to hear about Sukadeva Goswami and how he answers this kind of question. Because certainly these questions will come up in the course of our preaching. You'll be asked these kind of things, certainly. And Srila Prabhupada regularly would confront this kind of challenges. So here in Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukadeva Goswami is responding. Text number 29. Can we have somebody read, please?
Yes, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Text 29. Shukdev Goswami said, the status of powerful controllers is not harmed by any apparently audacious transgression of morality we may see in them, for they are just like fire, which devours everything fed into it and remains unpolluted. Purport. Great, potent personalities are not ruined.
I think it's a... Wait. Oh. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So great, potent personalities are not
Yeah, you
ruined
can
by...
go ahead.
Yes, madam. Great, potent personalities are not ruined by an apparent transgression of moral principles. Sridhar Swami mentions the examples of Brahma, Indra, Soma, Vishwamitra and others. A fire devours all that is fed into it, but the fire does not change its nature. Similarly, a great personality does not fall from his position by an irregularity in behavior. In the following verse, however, Shukdev Goswami makes it clear that if we try to imitate the great personalities ruling the universe, the result will be catastrophic. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you, Maraji. Now you can just answer a question for me. Can you give some examples? We're told Sridhar Swami mentions the examples of Brahma, Indra, Soma, Vishwamitra, and others. Do you know what are these examples?
Yes, Maharaj. So we just learned in the previous units also that Indra, he out of his false ego, he called upon the rains to destroy the Braj Bhumi, the Braj Mandal, and Krishna then saved by lifting the Govardhan hill. So Indra like this, and then Brahma also he considered Krishna as a small boy and not the ultimate truth. So he stole all the cows and calves. So that way. So Brahma also did this. So these are the
Are these examples of transgression of moral principles?
Actually, in case of Indra, yes, because he is not the supreme controller. He's just he's just a demigod kind of, or rather the king of the demigod, but it's not the supreme controller. So if he's doing something which is out of his false pride, then it is definitely transgression of moral principles. That's what I think, Maharaj. Yeah.
Okay, what about Vishwamitra?
Vishwamitra. I'm sorry, I'm not sure about Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra. Yeah, I think he was in a trance and then he gave up. I'm not sure about Vishwamitra. Sorry, man. Vishwamitra.
Well, transgression of moral principles. Morality, if we're talking about morality, then Vishwamitra, of course, he was a renounced person, and he was trying to elevate himself to a higher position as in renunciation. And the demigods, Indra particularly, was concerned that he may lose his position if Vishwamitra becomes more powerful. Therefore, he arranged for a beautiful woman from the heavenly planets to go there and to go to where Vishwamitra was meditating and distract him from his meditation. And Vishwamitra became attracted to the beauty of the heavenly woman, and it resulted in him having union with her. And then Vishwamitra realized he had fallen down from his vows of renunciation, and he was angry at himself. And similarly, Lord Brahma had become lusty at his own daughter, and becoming lusty at his own daughter, other sages, the different demigods who were watching, they laughed. They were amused to see that Brahma became lusty over his own daughter. And of course this resulted in these demigods being cursed, that they became, ultimately they became sons of Devaki. They were born from the womb of Devaki and killed by Kamsa. And then later on, Lord Krishna brought them back from Yamaloka, and they drank the breast milk from Devaki, and they were able to go back to heaven. So Brahma became influenced by lust. Indra also had problems with lust. He would often be influenced and attracted to beautiful women. Vishwamitra also had problems. Soma. They're all examples of people who had trouble controlling their senses and broke their principles of morality. They did not follow the Vedic culture. And I think Soma was guilty of taking the wife of another person away. Anyway, like this, there was some transgression of the moral principles. But we're told, because these were great personalities, they did not get any karmic reaction. It says they were not ruined. And the example is given about a fire. Just like if you have a fire, you can put all kinds of different things into the fire, but the fire won't change its nature. You can put different garbage, you can put wood, you can put paper, you can put plastic, you can put foodstuffs, you can put all different things into the fire. The fire will continue to burn. In the same way, a person who is actually a great personality, he does not fall from his position, even though there may be some irregularity in his behavior. So there may be some irregularity. However, we're warned that no common people should ever try to imitate these great personalities. These great personalities, these are like controllers. They're very powerful people, and they have powerful positions in the universe. And if we try to imitate them, it will result in a disaster, a catastrophe, right? Everything will be ruined. So this is the very important point. We'll hear more about this in the next text. Who's going to read text number 30 for us, please?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Translation. One who is not a great controller should never imitate the behavior of ruling personalities, even mentally. If out of foolishness an ordinary person does imitate such behavior, he will simply destroy himself, just as a person who is not Rudra would destroy himself if he tried to drink an ocean of poison. Can you read the purport, Maharaj?
Uh, let me see. Okay, yeah.
Purport. Lord Shiva or Rudra once drank an ocean of poison, and the result was that an attractive blue mark appeared on his neck. But if we were to drink even a drop of such poison, we would die immediately. Just as we should not imitate this pastime of Shiva's. We should not imitate Lord Krishna's activities with the gopis. We should clearly understand that while Lord Krishna certainly descends to demonstrate religious principles, he also descends to demonstrate that he is God and we are not. That must be that also must be demonstrated. The Lord enjoys with his internal potency and thus attracts us to the spiritual platform. We should not try to imitate Krishna, for we will suffer severely. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, thank you. So, so we're warned that we should never try to imitate the behavior of some great ruling personality, some kind of controller. And if we do try to do that, then we will simply end in destroying our own self. And the example is given about Lord Shiva, who drank the ocean of poison. Of course, Lord Shiva, because he was a great personality, he could drink poison from the ocean of immortality. He could drink the poison, and he could drink it, and the result was that he became Nilakanta. His neck became blue. But if we try to imitate this activity of Lord Shiva, we will simply kill ourselves. We will simply die an immediate death. So we have to understand how this statement that that great personalities are not responsible even if they do something which is not quite on the line of proper behavior, but they're not held responsible. They don't get karmic reactions. The demigods, they may do something sinful, they may behave in an irresponsible manner sometimes, or improper manner, but they don't get karmic reactions for it. But we do. We're on the earth planet, and this is a place of karma. And if we do something wrong, immediately we get the reaction for it. So we have to be very careful. Lord Krishna, he is coming to demonstrate the religious principles. As we said, the Lord is coming to speak about Dharma. So, we have to understand, he's not only coming just to speak about Dharma, but he's also coming to demonstrate that he is God, that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we are not. So his activities are to show us what are the activities of the Supreme Lord. And this is a very important point for us to understand, that Lord Krishna does not only just come to kill the demons and give pleasure to the devotees. Well, you could say in a way that this activity of showing himself to be the Supreme Lord, this is giving pleasure to the devotees. The devotees are happy, they take pleasure in seeing the Lord dancing with his devotees, with the gopis. It's pleasing to the devotees, but you have to be a pure soul to appreciate it. It's very important for us to understand the qualification to understand these things. You have to be really pure-hearted to be able to appreciate the activities of the Lord. I'll be speaking more about this as we go on, but it's very, very important for us to understand the absolute position of the Supreme Lord, and that He's showing us the activities of the Supreme Lord.
Maharaj.
Yes?
I have a question. Maharaj, just now Maharaj mentioned that these great soul like Indra, Brahma, even though they committed offense, they are not bound by the karma. But we know that once Indra killed his own speech master, and then his karma came in the form of Chandra woman was chasing him. So how we can understand this? Is it karma or what is it, Maharaj?
Well, is it karma? No. It's simply they're acting, they're doing something that maybe they're offending their spiritual master, right? Yeah. Then when they offend the spiritual master leaves them. So they no longer have the help of the spiritual master. Is it karma? No. It's simply the reaction for their work. Of course, people may say, because from Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna also says, Yad yad acharati shrestha, tad tad evetaro jana, sayat pramanam kurute, lokas tad anuvartate. Whatever actions are performed by a great personality, then other people will want to follow. Everyone wants to follow in the footsteps of a great person. So when great people, like we mentioned different demigods, if they show a bad example, doesn't that influence other people to follow their example? So we have to understand that when we follow a great personality, we don't just follow them because they're a great personality, but we follow them because they're following the scriptures. So it's important that we also bear in mind not just the activities of the great personality, but we also have to be aware of the instructions of the scriptures. And they're great souls. Why are they great? Because they follow the scriptures. And if they deviate at some point from the scriptures, then that will be some momentary thing. It won't be an ongoing thing. It will be brief. It will be short. It will be maybe once or something that happens. It won't be a continuous thing. So we have to understand the nature of following the great personalities. That we follow them because they follow the scriptures. They're teaching the scriptures. They're presenting the scriptures. Lord Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita. He's telling us what we have to do, how we have to surrender to Him. Doesn't mean we have to follow Krishna. Oh, because Krishna danced with the gopis, we will also dance with the gopis. No. We have to understand when to follow the great personality and when not. Is it clear?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj.
So Lord Krishna is enjoying with His internal potency that's bringing us to the spiritual platform. We should not try to imitate Krishna. If we do, we will suffer severely. Right? So we'll go ahead, text number 31. Who is reading?
Yes, Maharaj. 31. The statements of the Lord's empowered servants are always true, and the acts they perform are exemplary when consistent with those statements. Therefore, one who is intelligent should carry out their instructions.
Yes, read the first paragraph of the purport.
Yes, Maharaj. Purport, first paragraph. The word Ishvara is usually defined in Sanskrit dictionaries as Lord, Master, Ruler, and also as capable, potent to perform. Srila Prabhupada often translated the word Ishvara as controller, which brilliantly synthesizes the two fundamental concepts of Ishvara, namely a master or ruler and a capable or potent person. A master may be incompetent, but a controller is a master or lord who in fact makes things happen. The Parameshwara, the Supreme Ishvara, the Supreme Controller, is of course God, Krishna, the cause of all causes.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. So, we're being told how to understand these words, you see. Different words in Sanskrit, of course, have many different meanings. So here the word Ishvara is being discussed, and it can mean, we think, master, ruler, capable, but Srila Prabhupada translates it as controller. And it's a very clever way of bringing together the different concepts of an Ishvara. That such a person who is Ishvara, he has to be able to do all of these different things. And this is Lord Krishna. He is the Param Ishvara. He is the Supreme Controller. And this word was used by Lord Brahma. In the prayers of Brahma Samhita, it begins Ishvara Parama Krishna. Lord Krishna is the Supreme Controller. So we have to understand the position, the absolute position of Lord Krishna. Now we're learning that demigods and powerful people in the world, that they don't get reactions if they do something which is not proper. So if they don't get reactions, how could Lord Krishna ever get any reactions? Lord Krishna, he is the supreme, he's above everyone. So then there's quite a lengthy purport here about it, understanding the position of the controller, how there are controllers in the universe. Now, everywhere we go, we find there's somebody in charge, there's some controller. We have to understand who is that controller. So, Bhagavad Gita is helping to make us aware that there are controllers. And there's some nice expressions here. Anyway, we'll begin from that towards the end of the purport. It's stated about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He has translated the word Ishvaranam as those who have become powerful through knowledge and austerity. Right? Somebody's a controller. How did they get that power? They have to have these kind of qualifications. They have to have knowledge, and there should also be austerity. If they have these things, it will make them more empowered to be controllers. So we can become empowered by the Lord to represent the will of the Lord. That's the business of a controller, to establish the mission of the Lord, to get people to follow religious principles, and to use our intelligence and get people to surrender. The purport continues, the Supreme Personality of Godhead kindly descends to earth to show a vivid example of religious behavior. As Lord Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita 3:24, if I did not execute standard duties, the whole world would be misled and in fact destroyed. Thus the Lord showed in his different incarnations how to act properly in this world. A good example is Lord Ramachandra, who behaved wonderfully as the son of King Dasharatha. All right, so the Lord's incarnations, he's showing us what is the proper behavior. Lord Ramachandra, Maryada avatar, he behaves very properly, very perfect. He's very exemplary as a king. And he's very strict to follow dharma, all religious principles. He's so obedient to his father. Immediately he accepts the order of his father. They gave up the kingdom and went to live in the forest for 14 years, taking on the dress of bark. So Lord Ramachandra showed a very nice example, but even then he was criticized. Even when he's acting as the perfect king, people would criticize him, because at one point there was some doubt about the chastity of Mother Sita, and Lord Ramachandra considered that if he was going to be a king, there should be no doubt about the chastity of his wife. Therefore he suggested to Sita that better she should go and live at the ashram of Valmiki. And of course the result was Mother Sita went back to the earth. And after she gave birth to her twin sons, Love and Kush, she returned to the earth and went back to her eternal Leela in the spiritual world. When she finished her pastimes in this mortal world, she went back to the spiritual world, where she's the eternal associate, the eternal consort of Lord Ramachandra. But people would criticize, oh, this Ramachandra, he's hard-hearted, he sent his wife away like this. Whatever you do, you get criticism. And even people criticize Lord Ramachandra, although he was so perfect in every way. And so then also Lord Krishna comes, and Lord Krishna also, there's criticism. So anyway, it's stated here, we'll read the purport. When Lord Krishna himself descends, he also demonstrates the ultimate religious principle, namely that the Supreme Lord is beyond all other living beings, and no one can imitate his supreme position. This foremost of all religious principles is that the Lord is unique, without equal or superior, was clearly demonstrated in Lord Krishna's apparently immoral pastimes with the gopis. No one can imitate these activities. You know, it's inconceivable that anybody could ever do what Lord Krishna did, that he called so many gopis to the forest, and he expanded himself as many gopis as there were gopis, there were forms of Lord Krishna. And in this way he was able to enjoy his pastimes with them. So this was a demonstration of the transcendental potency of the Supreme Lord. So nobody can imitate these kinds of activities. And this is being explained here by Sukadeva Goswami. Sukadeva Goswami is a totally renounced person. He has nothing to do with the material world, but he is attracted. He's happy to hear about the pastimes of Lord Krishna. And he's come to speak Srimad Bhagavatam to glorify the activities of Lord Krishna. The first 9 cantos are speaking about Krishna, helping us to understand Krishna. Because before we can hear about Krishna, first we have to understand his transcendental position. So the first 9 cantos introduce us to Krishna, and then the 10th canto tells us about the activities of Krishna. So the purport continues, one who thinks Lord Krishna is an ordinary living being, subjected to lust, or who accepts his rasa dance as admirable and tries to imitate it, will certainly be vanquished, as described in text 30 of this chapter. Finally, a distinction must be made between the Lord and his empowered servants. An empowered servant of the Lord, as in the case of Brahma, may experience a remnant of reactions to previous activities according to the law of karma. But the Lord is eternally free from any entanglement in the law of karma. He is on a unique platform. The Lord is not under the laws of any karma. I was listening to a nice lecture by His Grace Barijana Prabhu. He was lecturing on the absolute position of Lord Krishna. And he was describing how where he lives, I think it means in Vrindavan, he said there's a factory next door to where he's living. He said then all the workers who come out of the factory, they have to come past the security guard, and the security guard will check them, because in the factory they're working with silver, and they're plating or using silver for different things. So naturally, people working with silver, the employer doesn't want any of the workers to take any of the silver home for themselves. So they have someone on the gate of the factory, and he will check everyone as they come out of the factory to make sure they're not taking away any of the silver. But when the owner of the factory comes out of the factory, he doesn't have to be checked by the security guard. All the workers, they're inspected, they're checked, they're not allowed to take any silver with them. But the owner of the factory, he can come, he can go around the factory, he can come out the factory, and the security guard is not going to bother him, because he's the owner of the factory. In a similar manner, the Supreme Lord Krishna, he's above everything. He is not required to follow the laws of material nature. He himself is the lawmaker. And so the lawmaker is not under the laws. This has to be understood. Just like in Calcutta, they had a road in the past. It was called the Royal Road or the Royal Mile, and it was a special road in which the royal family, when they would come from England in the times of when India was a colony of the British Empire, at that time they had built a special road so that the Queen or the royal family could ride on that road without being disturbed by any other traffic. So they have that road, you see, on that road, there's no question of, a speed limit or laws or anything. They're not going to get any parking tickets by the policeman or anything, because they themselves are the proprietor. They're the supreme power behind the colony, behind the government. And so they are not obliged to follow the laws of the state. And so in the same way, the Supreme Lord Krishna, he is also not under the laws of this material world. He's on that unique platform. All right? Text 32. Someone can read?
Hare Krishna. My dear Prabhu, when these great persons who are free from false ego act piously in this world, they have no selfish motives to fulfill, and even when they act in apparent contradiction to the laws of piety, they are not subject to sinful reactions.
All right, yes. So, Sukadeva Goswami is explaining the absolute position of Lord Sri Krishna, and not only Lord Krishna, but even great personalities. The great personalities, they have no selfish motive. And even though they may act contradictory to the laws of piety, they don't get any karmic reaction. They're not going to suffer for it, because they're able to absorb that reaction. And they're free from false ego. They have a lot of piety as well. So the reactions don't come upon them. They're able to just simply go on. This is what's being explained to us. Text 33. Someone read.
Keshav Jagat Prabhu, would you like to read? How then could the Lord of all created beings, animals, men and demigods have any connection with the piety and impiety that affect his subject creatures?
Yeah, purport.
As explained in text 32, even great personalities empowered by the Lord are free from the laws of karma. Then what to speak of the Lord himself? After all, the law of karma is created by him and is an expression of his omnipotent will. Therefore, his activities, which he performs out of his own pure goodness, are never subject to criticism by ordinary living beings.
Thank you. So we see Sukadeva Goswami respond to this first question of Maharaj Parikshit, that even great personalities, they're empowered by the Lord, so they don't get any karma. In the same way, certainly the Lord himself is not going to get any karma. His activities are all performed out of his own pure goodness. The Lord's activities, we may wonder, what is this the mode of goodness? He's dancing with the wives of other people. Well, we have to understand more about his purpose behind the activity. But first of all, we should understand that he's not going to get any reactions for this. It's not going to be the cause of his fall down, that it has to be understood by qualified people. And we will explain more about that in a little while. All right? Then text 35. Oh, 34?
Material activities never entangle the devotees of the Supreme Lord, who are fully satisfied by serving the dust of his lotus feet. Nor do material activities entangle those intelligent sages who have freed themselves from the bondage of all fruitive reaction by the power of yoga. So, how could there be any question of bondage for the Lord Himself, who assumes His transcendental forms according to His own sweet will?
Right. We have to understand the Lord has that inconceivable potency. He can assume many different forms. He can perform many wonderful activities. There's no question of bondage for him. And even great sages are not entangled in the reactions of work. Material activities never entangle the devotees. The devotees of the Lord are above that. Mam chayo vayabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunam samatichekam brahma bhuyaya kalpate. The devotees are acting on the transcendental platform. They're above the modes of nature. All right, text 35.
He who lives as the overseeing witness within the gopis and their husbands, and indeed within all embodied living beings, assumes forms in this world to enjoy transcendental pastimes. Thank you.
Purport?
We certainly do not assume our bodies to enjoy transcendental pastimes as the Lord does. We eternal souls have accepted material bodies by force because of our foolish attempt to enjoy this material world. The Lord's forms are all eternal, spiritual existence, and cannot be reasonably equated with our temporary flesh. Since Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord dwelling within the gopis, their so-called husbands, and all other living beings, what possible sin could there be on his part if he embraces some of the beings he himself has created? What fault could there be if the Lord goes with the gopis to a secret place, since he already dwells within the most secret part of every living being, the core of the heart?
Okay, so some of these doubts, the doubt of the audience to understand the position of Lord Krishna is being explained. That Lord Krishna is the overseeing witness within the gopis and their husbands. Not only within them, but within all embodied living beings. So this way Sukadeva Goswami, he's explaining, we have to understand the position of Lord Krishna, that he's there within the hearts of everyone. So he's in the hearts of the gopis, and he's in the hearts of the husbands as well. And he assumes different forms to enjoy wonderful pastimes. He can do all of these things because he has incredible potency. It's all done by his potencies, his yoga maya potencies. And it arranges for all of these different activities to take place. And so, we are forced to take a material body. We are forced to enter into a particular body somewhere in the material world. We take birth in a particular family, in a particular level of society. And this is all arranged according to our past activities. But for the Lord, he can choose where he comes and when he comes, and he will choose also which family he will come, where he will appear. He will come for the purpose of his transcendental pastimes. Not everyone can become the mother and father of the Supreme Lord. It's very special devotees. They are actually coming from the spiritual world just to take part in the pastimes of the Lord. And the Lord has many different forms. These forms are all fully spiritual, Satchit Ananda, eternal, full of bliss and knowledge. Our forms are simply temporary and full of suffering. We're unfortunate beings. We don't know the nature of the spiritual world. But in the spiritual existence, there are eternal forms of bliss and knowledge. And the Lord has all eternal existence. We try to put God on our level. We think, well, if there's somebody, I can also be like Krishna. We think, what's the difference between him and me? He can dance, I can also dance. I can also play the flute. No, Lord Krishna is dwelling within the hearts of everyone. So we cannot accuse him of being sinful. He may be embracing the gopis, but he's in their hearts. And within their hearts, he's embracing them. So we have to understand the nature of the Lord's transcendental pastimes. So in this way, Sukadeva Goswami has answered the first question of Maharaj Parikshit. He wanted to know about how the Lord could come and do these things, go against the moral principles. And now the second question is, why is he doing it? Right? So someone read text 36.
Yes, Maharaj, text 36. Hare Krishna. When the Lord assumes a human-like body to show mercy to his devotees, he engages in such pastimes as will attract those who hear about them to become dedicated to him. Should I read the purport, Maharaj?
Okay.
Purport. Shrijiv Goswami explains in this connection that when Lord Krishna descends to this world in his original two-handed form, out of kindness he manifests that form in a way his devotees conditioned in human society can perceive and understand. Thus, here it is stated, Manusham Deham Astata, he assumes a human-like body. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura glorifies the Lord's conjugal pastimes, stating that these romantic affairs have an inconceivable spiritual potency to attract the polluted heart of conditioned souls. It is an undeniable fact that any pure or simple-hearted person who hears narrations of the loving affairs of Krishna will be attracted to the lotus feet of the Lord and gradually become his devotee. Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. All right, so here we're told what is the actual purpose of the Lord in performing this pastime of Rasa Lila. So the fact is that by hearing about the loving affairs, the romantic affairs, it has an inconceivable spiritual potency which will attract even the polluted heart of conditioned souls. And it's an undeniable fact that any pure or simple-hearted person who hears narrations will be attracted to the lotus feet of Krishna and become a devotee gradually. Now that Srila Prabhupada does qualify these things, hearing about Lord Krishna, we'll discuss this in a little while, but we just want to go through this purport here and understand how Sukadeva Goswami is responding. That the Lord has taken this form to show mercy to his devotees, to attract them to become dedicated to him. If they're sincere and genuine, when we hear about Lord Krishna and how he is all attractive, all powerful, how he is all merciful, we will naturally want to serve him. We will want to become dedicated to his service. So this is the idea behind presenting this pastime. All right, then text 37.
Text 37. The cowherd men, bewildered by Krishna's illusory potency, thought their wife had remained home at their side. Thus, they do not harbor any jealous feeling against him.
Yes.
Could Mrs. read the purport, Mother? Read the purport.
Okay.
Because the gopi love Krishna exclusively, Yogamaya protect their relationship with the Lord at all time, even though they were married. Srila Viswanath Chakravarti Thakur quote from the Ujjwala Nilamani as follows. Maya Kalpita Tadriks 3 Silana Silanenanu Suyubi no Jatuh Vraja Dewi Nam Patibi Saha Sanggama. The gopis' jealous husband consorted not with their wife, but with double manufacturing by Maya. Thus, these men never actually had any intimate contact with the divine ladies of Vraja. The gopis are the internal energy of the Lord and can never belong to any other living being. Krishna arranged their apparent marriage to other men simply to create the excitement of parakya rasa, the love between a married woman and her paramour. These activities are absolutely pure because they are the Lord's pastime, and saintly persons since time immemorial have realized these supreme spiritual events.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Yes. So we hear why Lord Krishna has actually done all this. First of all, we hear that the Yoga Maya arranges that the wives, there was a Maya wife there remaining at the home. And the actual wives in their spiritual bodies, they went to the forest to be with Krishna. So the husbands were not aware that their wives had gone away, because their wives, they saw their wife was there in the home. So the wives, the Maya wife was there at home, and the wife went in her spiritual body to be with Lord Krishna and to take part in Rasa Leela. So in this way, the men never had any doubts about, they were never disturbed that their wives had gone away. They didn't know their wives had any intimate contact with Krishna. So it's pointed out, because these gopis are the internal energy of the Lord, they can never belong to any other living being. Just like Mother Sita, people think she was kidnapped by Ravan. But Mother Sita is the internal potency of the Lord, and she could never be touched by a person like Ravan. Ravan actually took a Maya Sita. And similarly here, the gopis, they went to the forest, but the Maya gopis stayed there in their home to be with the husband. So Krishna arranged like that, simply, so that he could enjoy this parakya ras, which is the highest form of loving exchange on the spiritual platform. There's Swakya Ras, which means with marriage, and Parakya Ras is without marriage. It's a relationship between a married man and her paramour. They're not married. The woman's married and she's having a relationship with another man. This on the spiritual platform, this is the highest thing. In the material world, it's the lowest. But in the spiritual world, it's the highest kind of relationship because it gives the greatest kind of excitement and loving emotion is exhibited. And this is why the Lord is enjoying this loving relationship. And we're told even saintly persons since time immemorial, they've relished this kind of relationship between the Lord and his devotees. Right? And then text 38.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, text 38. After an entire night of Brahma had passed, Lord Krishna advised the gopis to return to their homes. Although they did not wish to do so, the Lord's beloved consorts complied with his command. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 8.17, Lord Krishna explains, by human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together in the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. Thus 1,000 ages entered within a single 12-hour night when Lord Krishna performed his rasa dance. Srila Vishnu Chakrabarti compared this inconceivable compression of time to the fact that many universes fit neatly within the 40 miles range of earthly Vrindavan. Or one may consider that Mother Yashoda could not encircle the small abdomen of child Krishna with numerous ropes, and that at another time he manifested many universes within his mouth. The transcendence of spiritual reality above the beyond mundane physics is concisely explained in Srila Rupa Goswami's Laghu Bhagavat Amrita. Evam prabhavo priyanam cha dhamanascha samayasya cha avichintya prabhavatad bhavatadvad atra kinchina durghatam. Nothing is impossible for the Lord, his dear devotees, his transcendental abode, or the time of his pastimes, for all these entities are inconceivably powerful. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti further explains that the word Vasudeva Anumoditaha indicates that Lord Krishna advises the gopis. To ensure the success of these pastimes, you and I should keep them secret. The word Vasudev, a name of Krishna, also indicates that Krishna's plenary expansion, who acts as the presiding deity of consciousness. When the word Vasudeva is understood in this context, the word Vasudeva Anumoditaha indicates that the presiding deity of consciousness, Vasudeva, manifested embarrassment and fear of their elders within the gopis' hearts, and therefore it was only with great reluctance that the young girls returned home. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, very interesting pastime is being described. How the gopis and Lord Krishna, they danced for one night of Brahma. One night of Brahma was compressed within the 8 hours of our time. And so after they had danced, then the Lord told them that they should now go home, return to their home. Oh, just a minute.
She forgot being back here, going Mataji, maybe in front of the bathroom.
Oh, I don't know.
This one, Maharaj.
You got it?
Yeah, Maharaj.
Oh.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, Prabhu.
Sorry, that's that.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So, yeah, an important quote is given here in this purport, right? That nothing is impossible for the Lord. Prabhupada, of course, always used to tell us like that. The word impossible is a word in the Fool's Dictionary. So it's important for us to understand that when we're hearing about Lord Krishna, we have to understand how he has achintya shakti, he has inconceivable potencies. And so this quote from Laghu Bhagavatamrita is here, that nothing is impossible for the Lord, or for his devotees, or his transcendental abode, or the time of his pastimes. All these are inconceivably powerful. So that when we hear that the pastimes of the Lord, that the dance Rasa Lila for one night of Brahma, we should not doubt it. We should understand this is possible by the inconceivable potency of the Lord. And at the same time, we're told we keep them confidential. And then we hear also how Vasudeva is understood, the deity of consciousness, the presiding deity of consciousness, that he arranges to manifest embarrassment and fear in the hearts of the gopis. They're afraid of their elders, and although Lord Krishna told them to go home, they were reluctant to go home. But at the same time, they knew they better go home because they're afraid of their elders and they're a little embarrassed. They're young girls. So they go home, and when they go home, then the Maya wife, which is there at home with the husband, that will disappear. And they will again assume their position as the wives of the cowherd men. So this is the inconceivable pastime of Lord Krishna. And now the final verse of this chapter, someone can read.
Translation: anyone who faithfully hears or describes the Lord's playful affairs with the young gopis of Vrindavan will attain the Lord's pure devotional service. Thus he will quickly become sober and conquer lust, the disease of the heart. Purport: the extraordinary power of Lord Krishna's conjugal pastimes is clearly revealed here. Qualitatively, the Lord's spiritual, loving pastimes are the diametric opposite of material, lusty affairs, so much so that simply by hearing about the Lord's pastimes, a devotee conquers sex desire. By reading pornographic literature or hearing about material romance, we certainly do not conquer sex desire, but rather increase our lust. But hearing or reading about Lord's conjugal affairs has exactly the opposite effect because they are of the opposite nature, being purely spiritual. Therefore, it is by the causeless mercy of Lord Krishna that he exhibits his Rasa Leela within this world. If we become attached to this narration, we will experience the bliss of spiritual love and thus reject the perverted reflection of that love, which is called lust. As nicely put by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita 2.59, param drishtva nivartate. Once having directly experienced the Supreme, one will not return to the material pleasures. Thus end the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada to the 10th canto, 33rd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled The Rasa Dance.
Thank you very much. So this very important verse here, the final verse of this chapter, final verse of this section on Rasa Leela, we are told, anyone who faithfully hears or describes the Lord's playful activities will attain the Lord's pure devotional service. He will quickly become sober and conquer lust, the disease of the heart. So, we're going to discuss this more. It's an important point because, some people take these things very cheaply and they think, we can just simply read about Krishna's Rasa Leela. And they like to often jump up to the 10th canto without having any real qualification to understand these confidential pastimes of the Lord. Anyway, what we'll do now, we'll take our break, and when we come back, I'll give to you some of the evidence on this, what Srila Prabhupada did say about these things, and how we can understand who is actually qualified to hear Krishna's Rasa Leela. Right? So let's take our break now. Be back in 10 minutes. Hare Krishna. This final verse in the chapter begins about faithfully hearing. So this is an important qualification, being faithful, hearing faithfully. Srila Prabhupada is, in some places, is very cautious about what we should hear and about who's qualified to hear. If you look at Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 8, verse number 255, Lord Chaitanya is discussing with Ramananda Rai. And Lord Chaitanya asked, out of all topics people listen to, which is best for all living entities? Ramananda Rai replied, hearing about the loving affairs between Radha and Krishna is most pleasing to the ear. Then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada quotes the verse, that final verse of chapter 33, where it says, one who faithfully hears about the dealings between Krishna and the gopis in the rasa dance, and who describes these activities, will attain to the perfectional stage of devotional service, and simultaneously lose material lusty desires. However, in the purport, Prabhupada continues, a liberated person who hears about the loving affairs of Radha and Krishna is not inclined to have lusty desires. One mundane rogue once said that when the Vaishnava chants the name Radha, Radha, he simply remembers a barber's wife named Radha. This is a practical example. Unless one is liberated, he should not try to hear about the loving affairs between Radha and Krishna. If one is not liberated, and listens to a relation of the rasa dance, he may remember his own mundane activities and illicit connection with some woman whose name may also be Radha. In the conditioned stage, one should not even try to remember such things. By practicing the regulative principles, one should rise to the platform of spontaneous attraction for Krishna. Then, and only then, should one hear about Radha Krishna Leela. Although these affairs may be very pleasing both to conditioned and to liberated souls, the conditioned soul should not try to hear them. The talks between Ramananda Rai and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are conducted on the platform of liberation. So Srila Prabhupada, you can see that Srila Prabhupada is very cautious here. He's saying unless one is on the liberated platform, one should not try to hear the topics of Radha and Krishna. And then there are, of course, other references. Shivaram Swami discusses this because he's written this book, Naparayeham, which is all about the dealings between Lord Krishna and the gopis. And so he's discussing about who is actually qualified to hear these topics of Krishna. And he says, many acharyas have given their comments on this particular sloka, this final verse of the 33rd chapter. And Srila Prabhupada, he also gave his quotes. You can see different quotes here in his text here. So this is the most restrictive explanation. This one in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 8, 255. Very restrictive. Only liberated souls should hear Radha Krishna Leela. As for conditioned souls, they should not even try to remember such things. So, what is our position? What about non-liberated souls? Are we allowed to hear about Radha Krishna Leela? Well, not in that purport. However, there are others. Prabhupada writes in other places, when one rises to the platform of spontaneous devotion for Krishna, then and only then should one hear about Radha Krishna Leela. So, we have to understand who is actually qualified. There are actually two qualifying factors. So Shivaram Swami, in his introduction here to his book, he says the first qualifying factor is that Prabhupada gave different explanations of this verse and various comments on the same subject in his teachings. So there were different explanations. And then the second qualifying factor is that Srila Prabhupada wanted mass distribution of books like the Krishna book and the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And of course, both of these books contain Radha Krishna Leela. And both books were sold and purchased by non-liberated souls. Why did Srila Prabhupada direct us if he thought only liberated souls should hear Krishna Leela? So we have to understand, is this contradictory? So anyway, there are some examples from Srila Prabhupada which add some weight to the argument that Radha Krishna's pastimes can be heard by non-liberated souls with qualification. And the qualification is they have to be careful, right? They have to be careful. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada has also written that the activities of the gopis and Lord Krishna, if seriously understood, will certainly free one from material attachment or lust. So again, qualification. Qualification is we have to be serious. We have to be really serious in our attempt to approach Lord Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada says that Krishna Lila should be carefully understood. We have to be free from material attachment. So, he understands we're not liberated souls, but we have to be willing to give up that material attachment. We have to be serious that we want to become liberated souls. In one lecture, Srila Prabhupada said, one who is actually qualified to hear about rasa, then the material disease, kama, or lusty desire, will be finished. No more. Very soon he will be dhira and bhaktim param bhagavati pratilavananya kaman. Srila Prabhupada reiterates that a qualified hearer may not be dhira and may also possess lust, kama, indicators of a conditioned soul. But from these statements, it appears that conditioned souls may also possess qualifications to hear Radha Krishna Lila. And if they do, the result should be no more lust. And they will soon be dhira. They will be sober-minded. They will be peaceful, free of material desires. So, Srila Prabhupada emphasized that Radha Krishna pastimes are not for sense enjoyers. We could say vishayis, sense enjoyers. And he said that hearing can purify those who do have the desire for sense enjoyment. So there's no contradiction. If we hear carefully, then we can conquer over that desire for sense gratification. But we have to be very serious. People thrive on the desire for sense enjoyment. That urge for sense enjoyment, that is due to our past habits. It's that simultaneously we should desire to purify ourselves. We don't want to remain a vishayi. So we have to have that strong desire to come to the state of Vishaya Chadiya. Vishaya Chadiya means where we get free from Vishaya, freedom from lust. This is important. We have to want to get free from lust. And this kind of understanding, this is also supported by Rupa Goswami's statement where he describes pure devotional service. Anyabilasita shunyam, right? Anyabilasita shunyam jnana karma janavritam anukuyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktir uttamam. Rupa Goswami has stated that pure devotional service is anyabilasita shunyam. It is without any kind of material desire. We have to be free of all motives except the desire for pleasing Krishna. That's the desire we want to nourish. We want to have that desire just to please Krishna. Then we can be on the path of pure devotion. And the path of pure devotion, that's the preliminary qualification. That is equivalent to Vishaya Chadiya, getting rid of the material desires. And gradually we can become more qualified to hear Rasa Leela. Even though we're not liberated, we can go on and develop an interest in hearing about Lord Krishna's transcendental pastimes with the gopis. So how can we support this? Well, we have to judge by the result. In Sanskrit they say phalena parichiyate. You can judge something by its fruit. The result of something will just show us the nature of our activities. So if a person is actually qualified to hear about Krishna's pastimes, it will be seen. If a conditioned soul is qualified to hear Radha Krishna Leela, he will become free from lust and he will give up his passionate ways. He will become purified. He'll become qualified to enter into Lord Krishna's pastimes. But on the other hand, if the hearer of Krishna's pastimes, if he has priorities, if he's thinking more about sense gratification than about purification, if he has that kind of demand for sense gratification, then he doesn't have the real qualification for hearing about Radha and Krishna. The absence of qualification will be confirmed by his indulgence in acts of sense gratification. And he will have a mundane opinion about Krishna's Leela, and he won't have that strong desire to engage in devotional service. In other words, he will be a fallen soul. So Srila Prabhupada gave examples about unqualified hearers. Prabhupada said, he said in one lecture, not that after hearing Rasa Leela, one will say, oh, let me imitate. Let me also dance with young girls and enjoy. This is going on. Rascal, Mayavadis, they do that. Prabhupada said, perhaps you know. And these people hearing life after life by the sex consideration, making offense to Krishna. So they are Bhuktivadis and Muktivadis. These people, they don't possess the desire to surrender to Krishna. So their hearing of Radha Krishna Lila is an offense. And Srila Prabhupada's instructions, he says, must be careful and serious. Then you can be a candidate for hearing Radha Krishna Katha. The devotee must be a strict sadhaka. He must know the science of Krishna. And he should have faith in the divinity of Lord Krishna's pastimes. And he should want to be fully purified and never imitate Krishna's loving exchange, even in his mind. And being fixed in purpose, such a devotee will be benefited by hearing Radha Krishna Lila. So we have two versions of Srila Prabhupada's teaching. The first version states that only liberated souls possessed of spontaneous attraction should hear Rasa Lila. And the second says that qualified devotees within the modes of nature may hear such pastimes with care. So, some difference between the two, how to harmonize these things. Well, we have to understand Srila Prabhupada's mood. Srila Prabhupada is not referring to everyone, but he's referring to people who are sense gratifiers, who can only think of material enjoyment. Prabhupada said in the purport, one mundane rogue who said that when the Vaishnavas chant the name Radha Radha, he simply remembers a barber's wife named Radha. So these kind of people, even upon hearing the name of Radha, are overwhelmed by material desires. So they should be first purified by regulated devotional practices. When they are serious about attaining that pure platform, then they may hear Radha Krishna Lila carefully, without risk, but then and only then. Sincere devotees who are actually qualified, that they're faithful and they're pure-hearted and they're eager to hear Radha Krishna pastimes, they can continue to hear with care and attention. And how do we know who's eligible for hearing? We have to see who is serious, who genuinely wants to hear. If the devotee experiences increasing material desires upon hearing Radha Krishna Lila, then he should recognize that he's not actually qualified. He should understand this is a disqualification. So he'll have to practice sadhana bhakti. He needs to do more sadhana bhakti under the spiritual master and advance. He has to advance in a different way. He has to do more hearing and chanting, the basic principles. So in one lecture, Srila Prabhupada explained, Radha Krishna Lila can be presented even to the general public. Yeah, at one time in Mayapur, the Manipuri dancers came and they were presenting Rasa Lila. So Prabhupada spoke about it to all the devotees and the audience. And he said in his lecture, he said, we should introduce these Krishna pastimes all over the world so that they may take lesson that the happiness they are seeking is with Krishna. So Prabhupada, when he said they, he means the general people, the common people, that they can take lesson that the real happiness is with Krishna. So Prabhupada emphasized, understand Krishna in the parampara system. Do not misunderstand Krishna as an ordinary human being like one of us. Do not misunderstand Krishna. That should be the precaution. And repeating the same message Prabhupada spoke in Vrindavan, he used the word precaution, just like he said careful and serious. So the same way he said precaution. Srila Prabhupada emphasized, a devotee eligible to hear Radha Krishna Lila must clearly understand Krishna to be the supreme transcendental person who is engaged in supramundane pastimes with his own internal potencies. If such an understanding is fixed, a devotee or even the general public may hear Radha Krishna Lila. That was Srila Prabhupada lecturing in Mayapur, 1975. Okay, so are there any questions on this? Anybody?
Yes, Maharaj, I have a question.
Yes.
This is regarding the status of the gopis. We have seen that gopis, some of the gopis are Nitya Siddhas, some are Sadhan Siddhas, and that Rishicharis and those who are personified Vedas. So, which category they are all Vishnu Tattva or Jiva Tattva? This is my first question.
They are what?
Jiva Tattva or Vishnu Tattva?
The Jiva Tattva.
Vishnu. All
Jiva
gopis
Tattva.
are Jiva Tattva?
Yes.
Even those gopis, their internal potencies or Nitya Siddha, they are also Jiva Tattva?
Yes.
Okay, Maharaj, thank you. I have another question, that is, we are discussing about Lord Shiva. He drank poison and that transcendental activities of these Rasa dances of Lord Krishna and gopis. Some of the religion people have seen in the lecture, they not they says that this once your Lord he can marry this 16,000 wives, and why if we marry 4 6, and what is your problem? In that way I have heard the lecture. So when we see that today I learned that one, that we can compare them, that Lord Shiva, he drank poison. Okay, you want to marry marry, then you first drink the poison as Lord Shiva has drank. So if you are surviving, then you can be eligible. Can you apply in this preaching application? Hare Krishna.
Well, Lord Shiva married. We don't, to apply drinking poison to marriage, No, it's a little harsh to talk like that. It's a question of how you consider the marriage. The marriage is something not for sense gratification. The marriage is something for a service to Krishna, to advance in Krishna consciousness, to take more responsibility. So we have to have the right mood, the right understanding. When you change your ashram and enter into family life, it's not something which you just do for sense gratification. It's not poison, but it's an opportunity to advance, to progress, to do more service for Krishna. So I don't know how you can relate it to Lord Shiva drinking poison.
No, Maharaj, I wanted to say those people those speak about that. I have seen in my area people during the other religion people. They compare that you are protesting us. We have multi-marriage, and other religion people have shopping. Other religion in sense other than this Hindus or Sanatanis. So they say that they compare Lord Krishna. So today it came in my mind that in our preaching we can defeat that argument by giving this illustration of example of Lord Shiva that he drank poison, he survived. I am not talking about Lord Shiva's marriage. So he has even he took when he took the participation in the Rasa dances, he has to take baths as a gopi. Then only he was eligible to take the part. So, if someone wants to imitate Lord Krishna, so first he has to try himself by drinking poison if he can survive. That only I wanted to say. Hare Krishna.
But that's not required. First of all, we should understand we cannot imitate Lord Krishna. That is wrong. The whole concept of wanting to imitate Krishna, that is a great mistake. And that has to be corrected. No one can be encouraged to continue in that kind of mood, that kind of mentality, to want to imitate.
Yes, that is right, Maharaj.
Lord Krishna said, Mataparadaram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya. There is no truth superior to me. Everything rests on me like pearls are strung on a thread. So Lord Krishna is the supreme truth. No one else could say like that. Lord Shiva never said like that. Lord Brahma, none of the devas ever said they are the supreme truth. Lord Krishna can say this. So we cannot ever think to try to imitate Lord Krishna. We want to understand how to become the servant of Krishna, how to engage in his service. And that we are learning from the gopis, the mood of service to Krishna. It's the mood of pleasing Krishna, serving Krishna, not becoming Krishna. All right?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I have a question. Maharaj, yesterday we spoke about how the demigods, husband and wife, they're watching the Rasa Leela. But one point Maharaj mentioned that the girls, the demigod, they couldn't see the gopis. And then later, I think Maharaj mentioned that they saw Krishna dancing with the gopis. So I'm a bit confused, Maharaj. Did the demigod saw the gopi during the Rasa dance or no, Maharaj?
Well, it's stated in the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that the demigods were flying in their aeroplanes. They were able to see Krishna, but they were not able to see the gopis. They were not able to see the intimate, loving exchanges which were taking place between Lord Krishna and the gopis. Because these demigods are not, they're not fully purified. They're not fully qualified to see these things. But they were able to see Lord Krishna, but they could not see the loving exchanges taking place between him and the gopis.
So that means, Maharaj, the demigod, they would have seen Krishna, I mean, multiple Krishna just dancing for himself. Isn't that weird, Maharaj?
Yes, they were seeing Krishna dancing
by himself, alone by himself.
Well, we're told that they were able to see Krishna, but they were not able to see the confidential dealings which were taking place between Krishna and the gopis. Maybe they could see just the dancing, but they could not see all the hugging and the touching and so on, and the kissing which was going on. They could not see all that.
Okay. Yes, Maharaj. Now we understand. Yeah. Thank you, Maharaj.
Maharaj,
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
That once I told, I said that Radharani is Jiva Tattva. So when Mataji, she's telling me that no, she is Shakti Tattva.
Well, of course, Radharani is something very special. She's, you know, she's Ladini Shakti of Lord Krishna. So we cannot, you know, I'm not classifying Radharani as Jiva Tattva, but generally the gopis would be Jiva Tattva, but doesn't mean that Srimati Radharani is also Jiva Tattva. She's certainly very special. She is the Ladini Shakti of Krishna.
And what Tattva is Lord Shiva?
Well, Shiva Tattva.
It is a different category.
Yes.
Now, how we can tell someone is Shakti Tattva?
Well, I don't know.
Just like Shaktavis avatar, Vasdeva. Can we tell his Shakti Tattva?
Shaktavesha avatar, no. No, I don't think you can say, oh, Shaktavesha avatars are Shakti Tattva. No.
Then Durga, Mother Durga, Goddess Durga, she's Shakti Tattva.
Maybe.
Is Mother Earth Shakti Tattva?
Oh, I don't know.
Maharaj,
how to know about this Shakti Tattva?
Yeah, Mataji, once I heard a lecture, Maharaj, that Shakti Tattva is only Parvati, Durga. She's only Shakti Tattva, and Lord Shiva only Shiva Tattva. And rest of the living entity is Jiva Tattva after Brahma. And then we have Vishnu Tattva. So Shiva Tattva and Shiva Tattva, Shakti Tattva, only Parvati and Lord Shiva. That's why I heard the lecture, Maharaj.
Okay.
And here Radharani also Shakti Tattva?
No, Radharani is Ladini potency. She is practically potency. She is
that
not
means
the kettle.
Shakti Tattva is inferior to Alladini. Is Shakti Tattva inferior to Alladini?
Well, I don't know.
Okay. Well, we can learn about this more.
Well, we'll read more and we'll try to find out.
Okay. Thank you.
What did Prabhu said Radharani is? How did you describe Radharani?
Alladini.
Ladini Shakti.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes? Any other questions?
Maharaj, sorry, one more question. Yesterday we saw some of the reasons why we say Krishna Rasa Leela is not material. And one of the reasons was mentioned that Krishna, when he performed Rasa Leela, he was 8 years old. So there's no question of loss. But in many verses, an explanation by Vishwa Chakritako, we saw that, for example, Krishna carried Radharani and the gopi said because he was caught by lust, not love. So can we use that as one of the points that even though Krishna 8 years old, there's no question of lust, because there are many places mentioned that, of course, Krishna lust is spiritual lust, Maharaj. So my question is that, can we use that as a point that 8 years old Krishna don't have any lust?
Yes, I certainly feel we do use this as a point, that an 8-year-old child is not lusty. And Lord Krishna, because his body is not, of course it's not just 8 years old, but his body is Satchitananda. He's the eternal absolute truth. So we cannot really compare his body in the sense to an ordinary 8-year-old child. But that example is given to help ordinary people who have no understanding of Lord Krishna, that if you are accusing Lord Krishna of being lusty, his body is an 8-year-old child. And so the activity of Rasa Lila, if you understand it on the material platform, then it's not lust. And if we understand it on the spiritual platform, then also it is not lust.
Okay, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj. Good explanation.
Sorry. Right. I have a question. If we look at all the other leelas performed by the Lord in the earlier part of the 10th canto, we see the various learnings, Kaliya Mardana or many of the other leelas, Damodar Leela. Everywhere there are learnings. Now, when we come to, of course, the Rasa Leela, you wonderfully narrated as to how this establishes as to how the gopis are at the highest level of bhakti. But as somebody who is a practicing devotee, and you also explained as to how Srila Prabhupada has cautioned as to who's eligible to read and speak about these leelas. Now, I don't find I am anyway qualified in those regards. So, in that sense, having read through the Ras Leela chapter now, understood gopis are supreme, what is the preaching application which I can have for this? I can't speak about this to others because I'm not qualified. Okay, I understand that gopis are at the highest level, but how do I take this forward from here on, Maharaj?
Well, we did discuss, the last question of Parikshit Maharaj was, what was the purpose of Lord Krishna presenting this Rasa Lila pastime? And it was described that it's actually purifying, that it's a very powerful, spiritual, transcendental affair. And if people will hear it with faith and caution, it can be very powerful medicine for them. Of course, we mentioned they should be qualified. They should be sadhakas. They should have engaged in hearing and chanting. And they should have understood the transcendental position of Lord Krishna. It's a very confidential pastime, and it's the most confidential of all of Lord Krishna's pastimes. And before people are actually qualified to hear it, they first of all have to go through the preliminaries of devotional service. They have to come to that higher level of devotion. They have to practice regularly hearing and chanting, and they have to understand the transcendental nature of Lord Krishna's form and his activities. If they come to hear about Rasa Lila with all mundane, contaminated understandings about Lord Krishna, then it will just simply lead to offense. So that's why we have to be cautious, as Prabhupada said, cautious and careful. We have to be serious. And so the qualification, we have to understand there is some qualification necessary to actually appreciate and to hear about Lord Krishna's Rasa Lila. Right? We have to hear. We have to go through the preliminaries of Bhakti Yoga. hearing and chanting, sadhana bhakti, come up to the higher levels of bhakti, come through anartha nivritti even, be very serious in our desire to understand Lord Krishna and his activities with the gopis. Is that all right?
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on this? We want to... I was quoting Shivaram's, he cited a lot of evidence from Prabhupada's lectures about who's actually qualified to hear this Radha Krishna Leela. We know Srila Prabhupada rarely, very rarely spoke on these things. He was very cautious, and he did not encourage our devotees. Of course, our movement was very new in Srila Prabhupada's time. I hope that devotees in general, we've made some progress from that time, and we've come to higher levels. You know, after many years of practice of sadhana bhakti, we hope we've come to some higher levels and we have a bit more qualification for hearing and valuing these affairs. But certainly we do have to be cautious about how we present these things, particularly to the public. Generally, these things are not for public discussion. And Prabhupada never liked to discuss these things publicly. If somebody would ask him to speak on these things, he would simply say, "Oh, I am not qualified." You may be qualified to hear. He said, "I'm not qualified to speak." And he would just, in this way, he would just avoid them.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes?
Sometimes when we speak to new people and tell them that, especially during Radhashtami, they want to know and they want to ask. So we tell them that Prabhupada always cautioned us that we should not speak about this. So then they ask, but even before the Bhagavatam book was done, but Prabhupada gave us the Krishna book in which he has described all these Leelas. Since you were there at that time, would you be able to tell what was his view, why he gave very extensively all these stories in the Krishna book?
Yes. Well, Srila Prabhupada did like that because, well, for one reason, he did not know how much time he would have left in the world to present the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. And he did want to present the pastimes of Lord Krishna. He wanted us to know about Lord Krishna's pastimes. So he prepared that Krishna book, and he prepared it in such a manner that even though we may have be completely unqualified to hear Radha Krishna Leela, he prepared the book in such a manner that he could bring us from the most basic level of Krishna consciousness. He could bring us to hear the highest pastime, the topmost level of Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada had that expertise in presenting the topics of Lord Krishna, that he could present them in a manner that even non-believers, non-devotees, they could hear about Radha and Krishna and they could be purified by it. Srila Prabhupada's explanations of the different pastimes were done in such a wonderful manner that it made it very attractive and appealing to everyone to hear. This was the wonder of the Krishna book. So Prabhupada, he did not know if he would get time to write the whole Bhagavatam and to go through the whole Bhagavatam. As we know, of course, Prabhupada began the 10th canto, and he only got up to, what was it, chapter 13 or something, and then he was not able to continue, and it was taken up by his disciples. But Srila Prabhupada had already given us a Krishna book, which was his summary study of the 10th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. And he presented it in such a manner that anyone in any position could read that book and be purified. He actually writes in the purport how this book is beneficial. People, somebody may be the topmost devotee, they will take pleasure in hearing the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Someone else will be a sadhana, and they will be purified and benefited by hearing the pastimes of Krishna from the Krishna book. And someone else may not even be a devotee. They may just be simply interested in mundane love stories or crime stories or war stories or whatever. So all of these are there in the Krishna book. And so in this way, Prabhupada said this book is beneficial for everyone. Anyone in different positions of life, they can be benefited by reading that Krishna book. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, of course, is, people who are cow killers and meat eaters, and they're not really qualified to hear these things. And so that's, it's on a higher level. But Srila Prabhupada presented the Krishna book in such a manner that everyone certainly benefited. I know it was the first book I got. Before I got any other book, the first book I came to was a Krishna book. I picked it up in a bookstore in London. It was a head shop, and they had these books, and I saw this book, beautiful golden or silver cover with Radha and Krishna on the front. And wow, I was just so attracted to it. I had to get it. And I took it home, and it was just so wonderful to read it and appreciate it. And it brought me to go to the temple. I'd never been to the temple. I'd never met a devotee before. But after I got that book, I knew I had to go to the temple and I had to meet the devotees. So I'm so much grateful to that book, Krishna book. I really think it's so wonderful. Everything is there in that book, and even though we may not be very advanced and know much of the philosophy, but we can get a lot of purification just by hearing and reading it again and again. Is that all right?
Yes, thank you, Maharaj. I was just going to ask, have you seen anybody who has, become a devotee, and you just said that you yourself?
Yeah. Well, when I joined, it was the only book they had, actually. It was the only book we had. It had been published in Japan, and they'd been shipped from Japan. And it was really, they had a few copies of Back to Godhead, but that was the only book we had. It was the first book which came there in England. And none of the Bhagavatam had been printed. And the Bhagavad Gita, we had the old, not the Macmillan copy, the abridged edition of the Bhagavad Gita. That was all. And I'm talking like 1971. So it was like that. And Krishna book, it was so much fun to sell a Krishna book, to give out Krishna books to people. And Srila Prabhupada, of course, he had the artists paint these pictures for it. His own disciples, they did the paintings, and Then he got George Harrison to pay for the printing. It's amazing how the book came about, you know. There's no money. Krishna sent the artists, and then he told Shamsundar to get George Harrison to pay for the printing, and Shamsundar was reluctant, and Prabhupada said, come on. He said, what's the good of having him for a friend if he doesn't do some service? You've got to get him to pay. You should pay for it. And somehow it happened. Shamsundar tells a nice story about it. How just as he said George didn't like people asking him for money, and Shamsundar was very reluctant to ask him for money. And just as he was asking him, he said that moment there was thunder and all the lights went off, and George said, okay. You know, he just gave in. He said, all right, okay, I'll give you. He understood Krishna wanted. And so that's how the book got printed. And then we didn't know how to distribute them. And the books were sitting there. And we'd sell 1 copy, 2 copies, you know, it was not easy. We were all new.
Were they expensive at that time?
Well, it was £2, I remember, 2 English pounds.
That would be expensive at that time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little like, no, it's okay. Big book, color pictures, you know, nice. I didn't mind, a couple of pounds. Yeah, but yeah, it's a bit more than what I usually pay for a book in those days, but it was a nice book, beautiful, color picture, hardcover. It was only volume 1. It came out in 2 parts. The second volume came later. Okay, so I think we've finished here now. So thank you all very much for your association. And I wish you all good luck in your ongoing study, Bhakti Vedanta. I hope it all goes well for you. Okay.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Wonderful sessions with you.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank
We
you.
wish to see you in the next one.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you very much for your association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.